Hello everyone, and welcome back to another year of Lotus Clan. As mentioned in year 3, this year marks the start of the new canon timeline, as the old one had to be scrapped when I lost the files. Before we get to the meat of the video, I want to announce and thank everyone that has been following the series, as yesterday, as of the posting of this video, hopefully, May 9th, marks the first year anniversary of where I uploaded part 1. So Lotus Clan as a series is 1 year old. I am very attached to every single cat in the series, and I have had so much fun building up the lore and the story and giving each of the characters motivations. And I am not done. I plan to keep this going. So thank you to everyone who has shown support or interest. It really does mean a lot to me. Now, getting the content warnings out of the way, as always, please proceed with caution if any of the topics depicted on screen right now are hard for you to watch, as they will be featured in this video. Now, I'm going to be honest. I already thought the clan was getting way too big in year 3, but I thought, oh, it's okay, surely the numbers will go down. And then I had to put on my clown makeup, because we ended up with more cats than last year, despite going to war. Yeah, you heard right. Lotus Clan went to war this year. You'll get more information as we go through the speed paints, and since the amount of cats I had to draw up for this thing was near 40, I decided to let my wrist rest and not do an animatic for the war events. I hope that's okay. There's some bonus art for some characters to better illustrate new plot points though, so I hope you enjoy that. As always, we're starting with the leader. Our compassionate little Olive Star has been very busy. This year proved hard for the whole clan, and as the leader, Olive Star felt like he had to step up to keep his warriors' morales up and offer them support and comfort on all fronts that he can manage, honestly. After Daisy Dusk's full name was announced at the gathering at the end of last year, Goldstar of Blaze Clan made a public declaration that they would not rest until the blood of Lotus Clan and all of the traitors they sheltered ran down the mountain alongside its many streams, declaring a formal war. Despite being a peaceful cat, Olive Star is no pushover, and heavily relied on his new deputy, the formidable fighter Stormmallow, to respond to Blaze Clan's attacks best he could. He's also been relying heavily on the medicine cats, as despite his best efforts and telling his warriors to be careful, Goldstar's war tactics, let's just say they're far from fair, and many cats were severely injured. He showed immense gratitude to Berry Clan when Pikestar and Hollow River helped pressure Goldstar into calling off the war, until Goldstar was pressured from all sides, including by their own deputy, Emerald Creek. Pikestar and Olive Star have a very wholesome friendship, and Berry Clan in general has become a very trustworthy ally of us. It seems Olive Star did push himself a little too hard, however, as he caught Green Cough and he was too exhausted to fight it after all the war events, and he lost his first life to it. So he now has 8 lives. Lilac Bramble temporarily became the new medicine cat. The head medicine cat, and also took in her first apprentice. She treated many patients along the year, as Wingstripe retired shortly after the war was declared, because his age started to keep him from performing his duties correctly. Having a bit more control of her own actions during her duties was definitely a breath of fresh air, and eventually she started finding comfort in her job, now that Wingstripe was no longer in the picture. She basically mentored 2 cats at once, as even though we had a loner healer join, and he is much older than Lilac Bramble, he was very nervous and joined in the middle of a war, so he had to take some coaching from her. She herself received a bite wound when she was gathering much needed herbs for injured clanmates, and a Blaze Clan warrior was sent to attack her, but she fought the warrior off bravely, and she didn't even get a scar. Overall, I am very relieved and happy that she's doing better, and she doesn't have to worry about her overbearing grandpa anymore, and she can be her own cat for a bit. I hope things continue to get better for her. It makes me very happy to see her happy. Moving on to our youngest medicine cat, Honeypaw decided on his own to become a medicine cat apprentice, and he was just shy of getting his full medicine cat name by the end of the year. So close and yet so far. He went from a quiet kid to a gloomy apprentice, and I imagine growing up as a healer in the middle of a very bloody war was the cause of that. He had to deliver some pretty nasty health updates to many patients, and couldn't heal every patient that entered the medicine den. Despite this, he proved very skillful from a young age and volunteered for difficult procedures and experimental treatments. He gained this strange personality later in the year, and all that just makes me see him as a little bit of a mad scientist doctor. Even though he looks like an absolute sweetheart, he decided to also put flowers in his braids because he thinks they're very whimsical and make him look innocent. We're skipping Stormmallow for now and moving on to the last medicine cat we'll be looking at this year. He is the wandering healer who joined shortly after the war started, offering help with the injured. Meet J-Cole. He's nervous, but witty, and he is very good at bandaging at wounds and making your nest as comfy as possible. He is very skilled at what he does, but is still nervous treating so many cats at once, and had to rely on Lilac Rumble heavily for coaching. Honeypot doesn't really seem to like him. I think he mostly finds it annoying that he's nervous and overthinks about how to proceed with injuries, while he just wants to mess around and see what comes out of it. Honeypaw is a little brat around him. He hasn't done much else, but he did receive a gift and a confession from another cat, and it seems that a lot of she cats find him very pretty. But so far he hasn't shown any interest in anyone on the romantic side, so maybe he's a race, or he just doesn't like girls. We'll have to see, since he's only been here a couple of months, so it's too soon for relationship anyway. One of the she-cats who was smitten by Jekyll right away was Crooked, who I think has cemented herself in the background character category pretty hard at this point. She's just mostly around camp, and her patrols or statuses never lead to anything remarkable. In fact, all the notes I have on Crooked this year are all related to Jekyll. She gifted him universe berries to wear and later asked him out, though Jekyll politely rejected her. She was not seen around camp for a bit after that. She also got sick again, and this leads me to believe that Crooked may have a weak immune system and gets sick really easily. She exclusively gets cold, rather frequently, but so far she hasn't gotten any major bruises or injuries. Could be she was just born with weaker defenses, or she developed them during her time growing up as a loner in the wild, but there's not much else to say about her. Hillpan started the year wondering if she would perform better as a mediator. After last year, she felt like while she was okay with warrior duties, she didn't really stand out on any of them, and it didn't make her feel fulfilled in her space in the clan. She started hanging out around Toll Rapid more to get a taste of the life. And then a war broke out, and she was required to fully dedicate her time to warrior duties, and she did not like it. She is not a good fighter and hates the pressure and aggression of battle. She went on a walk deep in thought and later consulted Crooked about it, who relates to her struggle as a warrior. They decided to consider Hillpound's role change while tossing pebbles at a badger set. Yeah, not the best time to do that. She hasn't really made up her mind yet and is still performing as a warrior, but she's eyeing the mediating position closely, and she's helping Toll Rapid whenever she can. I genuinely think she wants to switch and just scared of committing to it because she's scared of being perceived as weak. On a happier note, she found an abandoned kitten and gave it a home in the clan, and you'll meet her later. Toll Rapid, meanwhile, has been performing mediator duties all over the place and appreciates Hillpound's interest in helping her. She seemed to put her troublesome nature aside for war-related mediations, which Olive Star really appreciated. For other mediations, not so much. She, however, is very supportive of her two remaining kids and has made sure to have some mediation sessions between Finchope and Reedroot. She is definitely trying to set them up. For context, no, this wasn't me playing matchmaker with the mediation feature. Finchope's status was that he felt weird after a mediation with Tall Rapid, and Reedroot's status that same moon wants to ask something to Tall Rapid. So this isn't me. This is literally the game shipping this to. Having said that, Finchope now reciprocates Reedroot's crush, but only slightly. And before you celebrate, he is not really comfortable with the idea of love or being in a relationship, and it seems to be very scary for him. Maybe a commitment issue, and maybe he just saw the absolute wreck of every relationship in his bloodline and just doesn't want to risk it. Finchope instead decided to focus on active battle and hunting duties, especially during the war. He and Streambark tracked down the dog that killed Marigold Tail at the end of last year, and failed to drive it out as the dog pinned Streambark down and he had to bail her out. Later in the year, he finally got an apprentice, and I'll give it to him, he trained her very well. And yeah, he wasn't the most caring or fun mentor, but not all teachers are, and I think that's okay. Her apprentice likes him well enough, and that's what matters. After his apprentice graduated, he and Reedroot went on a border patrol and took along another apprentice to give his mentor a break, and then proceeded to get ambushed by Rose and watched the apprentice absolutely wreck them. And it scared him and Reedroot because of his intensity. As for his relationship with his former mentor, Olive Star, no notes, he still doesn't like him at all. Moving on to Reedroot, he accidentally just keeps embarrassing himself. He started the year by trying to chase a rabbit over the Berry Clan border and properly tripping in front of a very renowned Berry Clan warrior who was less than amused, and then got heat exhaustion for the second year in a row. I don't think Reedroot does very well with the heat, but that's all I have to say about him. Onto Australian warriors, Fallowthistle and Applewillow were essential during the war against Blaze Clan. Before it started, they came across Hollow River, the Berry Clan deputy, for those who don't remember, on their side of the border, who came bearing a message for Olive Star. It seems that the rogues that occupied Stag Clan last year before it was wiped out are getting very cocky and are getting further into Berry Clan, despite how hard the Berry Clan territory is to traverse if you don't know how to. Applewillow still hasn't retired, even though she said she really wanted to, and she has trained yet another apprentice. She had a more mixed experience with this one, despite doing her absolute best, but she did okay, and I'm still proud of her. Her apprentice was just a bit affected and pessimistic due to a war breaking out during his apprenticeship, and while Applewillow gave him multiple pep talks and words of encouragement, it seems that her apprentice never let go of his pessimistic nature. I don't blame Applewillow for this because I don't think there's much more she could have done personally for him. The other senior warrior right now is a new addition, a former rogue named Cedarbrook. He was invited for Marshal, and at first, basically the entire clan wasn't sure about him, and I wasn't either, since he used to be from a rogue group. He was under close surveillance by Applewillow and Fallowthistle for the first couple months after he joined. His history tab states that he was chased from his home by other rogue cats, so he was either exiled from the rogues that attacked Stag Clan or was never in that group to begin with, but we will have to see. He hasn't done much as he was the last cat to join this year and join post-war, so we'll have to learn more about him down the line, but I am keeping a close eye on him. But if I can say anything about the Blaze Clan war that was not entirely awful, is that the girl slayed. especially these three girls. Tasha is a new addition, and for clarity, she didn't do much during the war, but she proved to be an absolute fighter once she was out of in the field again. She joined the moon the war started, and she had just been hit by a car, and Stormbark brought her to camp. She spent 8 months with a nasty infection and a broken back. The injury healed and she can walk normally, but her back has a huge scar now. She didn't let that slow her down though. Right as she was dismissed from the medicine den, she chased out a small dog with swamp eyes. They both are very enthusiastic and dedicated to their duties, and they seem to have instant chemistry. They like showing off to each other. Coyote Paw was made an apprentice on the moon after the war broke out, along with her siblings. A lot of pressure was put on the entire litter as they were inexperienced and had to grow up faster than normal due to the circumstances. She was apprenticed to Marsh, who finally was given an apprentice, and she was childish at first. She enjoyed training, but she didn't like that she didn't get praised as often as she felt she deserved it. Marsh is generally a cold cat, and that plus her grief of losing Marigold Tail last year and the war meant that she was extra hard on Coyote Paw's training, determined to make sure that she was ready to survive a worst-case scenario. At what point during her training, she was sulking and not really paying attention, and landed on a pile of wet leaves when trying to impress Marsh with the pounce, proceeding to tumble down a slope in a very goofy manner. She started tearing up, and Marsh calmly walked down and helped her up. She tilted the apprentice's chin to meet her eyes before speaking. You know, you don't need to impress me. If you weren't exceeding in your training already, I would already have called attention to that. You're doing just fine. Slow down. Coyote Paw's training became much more enjoyable after that. She was named a full warrior soon after, receiving the name Coyote Shriek for her intensity in training. Stormbark wasted no time tracking down the husky that killed Marigold Tail. Her and Finchhope attempted to drive it out and promptly failed. She relished in battle and was honestly not as worried or concerned or careful as she maybe should have been when a war was announced, volunteering for extra patrols and ambushes at the border, showing no mercy for any Blaze Clan scent that crossed the border. At one point, she found Amberpaw, a Berry Clan apprentice, who had got lost while hunting and training, and hissed and scolded them until they ran home crying without really understanding what was happening. Stormbark, you have issues. With Stormmallow, however, she continues to be the sweetest girl in the clan. On a border patrol during Leafall, they climbed a tree to see 2 roe deer fighting for courtship rights over a doe. What a romantic and wholesome scenario. Please get your issues fixed. Windstripe's litter had an interesting start to their life as warriors. Imagine the shock in poor Apricot Kid and Snap Kid's faces when the gathering party came back to camp near sunrise and a meeting was called by Olive Star, only to be told, "Hey, so we're at war now?" and then be told to get back in the nursery instead of being named apprentices. Bit of a disappointment. They were made apprentices a few days after though. Apricot Paw to Softheart and Snap Paw to Sapling Feather. And unsurprisingly, both being troublesome from the get-go, they of course made a game out of the war of outperforming each other. The ego bit them in the rear pretty quickly though, when Snappa got heat exhaustion from overworking herself during battle training under the sun, and Apricot Paw's face was slashed pretty badly during a battle. Both of them got their taste of the war and participated in battles against Blaze Clan, but Apricot Paw was quickly put out of commission due to his injury. By the time his wound healed completely, the war had been over for a couple weeks, and he was left with a large scar on his right cheek. He didn't seem to care though, because it makes him look cool and tough. What scar does Snappa have to show her skill? That's right, none. Both siblings are absolute goobers and keep getting bruises almost every moon. And I'm pretty sure both their mentors breathed a big sigh of relief when they were finally named warriors. I'm surprised there wasn't more tension between them because both of their mentors, while not pushovers, are not really as hard-headed or impulsive. But oh well. I don't know if Alastar was hoping that giving them more collected and gentle mentors would mellow them out, but if he did, it failed horribly. Both siblings turned out to be very formidable fighters and a big deal to deal with, both in and outside of the battlefield. Snappaw became Snapburr in honor of her flexibility and quick reflexes, and Apricot Paw became Apricot Fuss in honor of his tenacity and relentlessness. He also came out as a demi-boy during his warrior ceremony. They go by he, they, and they are actually not the only cat to come out as trans this year. He was inspired to do so, I believe, by another cat who came out a few moons before. Maybe he got his little brain gears turning into finding their own identity. He and that cat actually went on a birder patrol together where they found a Berry Clan patrol who was oddly standoffish and cold, which was weird since Berry Clan and Lotus Clan have had a very close and cooperative relationship this year. As I previously mentioned, Stormmallow's tactical battle skills were vital during the war against Blaze Clan. He led many rigorous training sessions to prepare warriors for ambush attacks and teach them how to move around effectively to get out of a pinch. Despite being very busy, he still made time for his family, both his siblings and his mate, even taking a nap together with Softheart in the clearing to unwind from all the stress. During a tactical retreat from one of the biggest battles in the war, he unfortunately fell into a pit trap that Blaze Clan had set, and his leg was heavily mangled. Fingwin was also heavily injured in that battle, and along with Sapling Feather had to be dragged back to camp with heavy bleeding and open wounds. They were both out of commission for the last 2 months of the war, frustrating Stormmallow especially. Even after the war ended, they were confined to the medicine den, where Fingwin's wound began to fester with infection, despite Lilac Bramble's best effort to heal her. The infection kept progressing, and she was found cold in her nest just a moon after. Her body was unable to fight it. As if to add insult to injury, Stormmallow hadn't even had time to process the cooling body of his sister next to him when Honeypaw told him that his mangled leg had healed all it could, but it would forever be weaker than the other 3. So Stormmallow now has a permanent limp on his left front paw. He feels like he has to do more, and progressively became harder and harder on himself at the end of the year, wanting to be the support his family needed, because it was actually Softheart who took Fingwin's death the hardest. He is not a good fighter, and while he tries his best and can hold his own, he had to be rescued in battle multiple times because he kept freezing or getting pinned down. It's not that he's clumsy, but that he doesn't get the sense of pointless violence when wars would fix things much quicker and safely. He will still get down when it's necessary, though. He was there during the battle where Stormmallow and Fingwin got injured, and he panicked when he saw her sister tumble to the ground with blood coming out of her, immediately running to her and helping her back to camp, begging Lilac Bramble for help. He was not sure how he should feel for most of the year. After the stress and pain from the war, he thought things would just keep getting better. He even announced one of the happiest news imaginable. Him and Longleaf had become mates during the war, but didn't officially announce it until things had calmed down considering everything that was going on, and Longleaf being the catalyst of the conflict they were in, along with Daisy Dusk. And that was not all. They were expecting kids. That's right, not only did Longleaf and Softheart become a couple, they basically immediately formed a family with the help of a surrogate as soon as the war ended. The surrogate is a kitty pet named Cinder, who still lives outside the clan, but who we have run into a couple of times. He was insanely conflicted about his own mental state. His sister died the same moon his kids were brought to camp. Should he be sad and grieve his sister, or be over the moon that he and his mate finally could meet their kids? It didn't help that the only girl of the litter looked a lot like Finwin. The intense amount of emotional pain caused him to neglect his own health during the colder months of the year, and ended up getting green cough, which later spread around the camp, and it even infected his mate and one of his kids, who later got diagnosed with yellow cough as her green cough had progressed. This is just not his year, and Longleaf agreed to take care of the kids while he takes some time off with his remaining littermate, even if Stormmallow is not the biggest fan of Longleaf after everything that's happened. I think he kind of blames him. On happier news, Suffix! Suffix, everybody, we have Suffix! Pebble Echo and Marsh have become mates soon after the year started, and Pebble Echo stopped grieving after they got together, though they will always miss Marigoldtail, both of them. Her first act as mates was chasing out the dog that took his life after the failed attempt by Finchhope and Streambark, and they succeeded. The dog has left the territory, and we haven't seen it since. Pebble Echo then got frostbite from hunting during a spring snowstorm, and is now scarred from it. So, no more scarless mishaps for you, my lady. Although I am sad that the scar that she got covers the little nose stuff that she has. It was one of my favorite traits from her. Marsh trained her first apprentice, as I mentioned before, and it seems that she is finally starting to feel fully like she belongs in the clan, and is convinced that this is going to be her forever home, especially now that she has a girlfriend. Pebble Echo also got her tail mangled by a badger, but her ear was overall calmed. She is just making up for the scars that she didn't get the previous years, guys. Trust me, she's just making up for it. I'm half joking. I'm glad that my girls are having a nicer year, but there's not much else to say about them. They were not the protagonists this year. They haven't had kids, and I don't think they plan to yet. I think they want to enjoy life as mates and warriors before settling down and forming a family. But it is still on the table. Sapling Feather was also heavily injured during the battle that led to Finwin's lethal wound. Her side was slashed all the way from her shoulder to her tail, and while it's not as deep as Finwin's injury, it was bad enough to give Lilac Bramble and the other medicine cats cause for concern. She healed much quicker, but it's now hard to miss the scar it left on her. She has become a very close friend with Marshall, which is not a duo I expected, but I like the dynamic of a bold adventurer and her nervous mess of a friend who's too scared of her own shadow. Marshall is slowly taking steps to settle in the clan. She's still full of self-doubt and doesn't remember her past, but the clan is welcoming and endlessly optimistic and supportive of her. Maybe a little too optimistic, because for some reason Olistar thought giving her a bloodthirsty, violent apprentice would help her grow a little more confident while mellowing him out, which was certainly not what happened. Marshall and Peekpaw, who you'll meet later, were a horrible matchup, and all it accomplished was giving Marshall horrible anxiety because she just couldn't get a hold of him, and he wouldn't even listen to almost anything she said. Finchhope, who was mentoring Speedpaw's sister, and Reetroot endlessly caring, ended up helping her through the whole thing, taking her apprentice away with them to give her a break when she needed it. She and her apprentice were the one to first find Cedarbrook and invite him to the clan. And he also helped her mentor Peekpaw, because he is much more imposing than she is. Marshall did not like the responsibility of mentoring a younger cat, and I doubt that she wants to do it again. Sapling Feather, however, has started approaching her more and offering her relaxing strolls and helping her hunt. They are very sweet friends, honestly. Marshall is currently in the medicine den, as she broke her leg chasing a rabbit through the snow at the end of the year, and where she slipped on ice and fell off a cliff. Pansynudge started pulling her weight in the clan pretty much after the beginning of the year, before her kids were even apprentice. She would leave them with the elders to go out hunting to bring back good prey items for them to eat. In one of her hunts, she and Fallowthistle got caught in a snowstorm and she came back with frostbite, but she recovered with no scars. She bristled with pride when her 3 kids were given their apprentice names. She didn't become an active fighter in the war, since fighting another cat is not something she finds pleasant or that she thinks that she's particularly good at. She's a damn good hunter though, so she made sure everyone stays strong and fed during the war. One thing Pansynudge is truly awful at, however, is her love life. She confessed to 2 different she-cats and both of them rejected her. Hellpans rejected her first, which made her leave the camp in embarrassment to mope, and resulted in her spending too much time outside and getting heat stroke. Truly embarrassing stuff, Pansynudge. Crooked rejected her next. Pansynudge, honey, I know that she's very pretty, but Crooked is the straightest cat in this clan after Streambark. What are you thinking? So far she's only crushed on she-cats though, so potentially doomed lesbian? Please? Aunt Pa was given to Willow and he was not the happiest when he had to be trained during a war. His personality shifted pretty drastically upon reaching 6 months old. Once an excitable and bossy kid, excited to grow up and impress everyone with his skills and become a leader one day, he turned into a reserved, pessimistic cat as soon as the war was announced. He would be unenthusiastic and performing his warrior duties and just didn't find excitement in everything he was taught, even though he was very good at it. Honestly, I would say he displayed and is displaying very clear symptoms of depression. What surprises me is that he was the quickest to graduate out of his litter, and definitely has the most experience out of them still. He, like his mother, is not really a big fighter and prefers to hunt. He was named Antwer for his hard-working ethic despite his apathetic mood. He clings very close to his mama all the time, and Pansynudge is just happy to give him all the pampering that he needs, because he'll always be her little boy. I'm gonna get Fallowthistle out of the way because this is going to be a long segment. He retired near the end of the year, being most active during the war. He helped mediate between deputies and was a calming presence during border patrols with the other clans. He kept going on patrols with Dusk and met interesting new faces along the way. I'll get into that in a minute. As for Willow, he still hasn't asked her out and is pining very, very hard. I think he thinks that she's just too cool for him and he's nervous to ask her out. But guys, this man is yearning and it's killing me, my sweet baby. But that's all I have to say about him. Now Dusk. Dusk. This little cat has me crawling up the walls, guys. Strapping is going to be a wild ride. As you may remember, last year, promising young Dusk joined LOTUSCLAN by choice after running away from BlazeClan following Longleaf's choice. They had no attachment to anyone from their own clan, save their linemates and Longleaf, and they felt like LOTUSCLAN would be much safer for them, so they left. Goldstar took this very personally. Once Dusk was presented as a full warrior at a gathering, Goldstar immediately declared war if the traitors weren't returned to BlazeClan to be punished. Dusk's siblings respected their decision. They weren't the happiest in BlazeClan either, but they stayed because that's where they were raised, and they had nowhere else to go. Daisy Dusk specifically had many status this year about meeting their littermates at the border, as well as thinking to themselves that they did not regret leaving their old clan. They didn't cause the war, Ghoster's ego did. And as if that wasn't enough, that wasn't the only big event in Daisy Dusk's life this year. Both them and Fallowthistle had a nice meeting in the Berry clan border, where a lost kitten that looked a lot like Daisy Dusk was found alone. They went to return the kitten to the clan, and the kid's mother, along with some other Berry clan warriors, came out calling for the baby. Fallowthistle and Daisy Dusk were already weirded out enough by the kitten's uncanny resemblance to Daisy Dusk, but upon seeing the kid's mother, it was crystal clear. This cat was somehow related to them. The she-cat's attitude didn't help soothe this suspicion either. Speckleful, the Berry Clan queen, seemed off-put and confused by Daisy Dusk's appearance, and especially confused over why they were in the middle of all of this inter-clan politics. She asked them about what happened, and if their siblings and their father had had a falling out. This took Daisy Dusk by surprise, and she wanted to know more, but they couldn't ask any further question as Speckleful was called back by the patrol. Daisy Dusk's gears started turning after that, and the next time they saw their Littimer, Rowanwind, at the border, like they did once a moon outside of every gathering, they went to tell this to him, only for him to tell them that he already knew who their father was, but had no idea about their mother, as he didn't want to tell Rowanwind anything that he hadn't already figured out. "So you know who our father is?" Daisy Dusk asked, standing on their side of the border. "Yes, and it seems you know who our mother is. I'm assuming she's not from LOTUSCLAN." Daisy Dusk looked to the side. Just who was Speckleful? Was it really their mother? I mean, Nightspeck, the last sibling of their litter, looked like the spitting image of her. It all pointed to it being so. "I wouldn't say I know her, but I'm assuming this Berry Clan queen we met a few days back is likely our mother. She had a kid, Laurel Kid, looked a lot like her, but also a lot like me. And she and Nightspeck are like 2 drops of water." "So a Berry Clan queen," Rowanwind whispered. "Great. Not only Sunshade a neglectful father, but he's a code breaker too." Rowanwind sneered, hissing to himself as he looked back towards the LOTUSCLAN camp down the hill. That foxhard. Daisy Dusk's ears perked, turning to face their sibling with shock. "Sunshade? Rowanwind, are you absolutely sure?" Rowanwind sighed and looked at his own paws. "I always had my doubts about that guy. I mean, I look a lot like him, but neither you or Nightspeck really do too much to raise any suspicion, so I tossed it to a coincidence. But before he was made deputy, I treated him for an injury for a couple moons, and I finally had a chance to fully study how similar we are." He stopped to take a breath. "It was just too many coincidences, Daisy Dusk. I asked him while he was weakened with a fever. He mumbled something about keeping a promise to our mother. He told me that he was scared to die as a failure, both as a parent to us and a mate to her." Rowanwind's voice was heavy with bitterness and bittersweet sadness. "I tried asking him why he never talked to us if that was the case. I called him a liar. I told myself that it was just a fever talking and he didn't know what he was saying. But don't you think it's just too suspicious? A litter of 3 kids whose origins the entire clan never mentions. No parents, no past. Sure, we could be some kitty pets litter, but out of all the warriors in the clan, Sunshine has been the only one who went out of his way to never even be close to us, not even willing to patrol in the same rounds as us." Daisy Dusk's heart sunk. Rowan had always been emotional and quiet, even shy. Seeing him so openly hurt and angry, with his fur pressed practically on edge, it just felt wrong. They pushed their nose against his shoulder for comfort. "Did you learn anything else?" "Mimic Frost pushed me out of the den after I started getting impatient with my questions. Sunshade has avoided me completely ever since. Does Nightspec know? No, and I don't think she needs to right now. Let's just keep it between us. We grew up without parents. I don't think they would be much use for us now. Daisy Dusk wasn't sure of that last statement, especially when it concerned their siblings, who were severely hurt and lonely due to their upbringing, and they were stuck in a clan with a father that was basically a stranger. But they didn't push it for now. It wouldn't be long till Nightspec would find out by herself either, anyway. They had a feeling that this family matter was far from over. Daisy Dusk had to balance both a war declared because of their decision as well as carry this newfound knowledge that they actually had parents and they were both from different clans that she was in. Shortly after the talk with their siblings, they actually came out as non-binary publicly to the clan. They use they/them now. And I can't imagine all those three events in just a couple of months back to back is the easiest thing to deal with. Despite this, Daisy Dusk seems very happy. They are curious about their parents, but ultimately they don't feel the need to build a family core that was never there to begin with when they were growing up. They ended their old life when they moved to LOTUSCLAN, and in a sense, that includes whoever their parents were. They won't waste time pondering why they abandoned them. It doesn't matter now. They're a LOTUSCLAN warrior. On better, not family-related news, Daisy Dusk is an absolute heartthrob amongst the youngest warriors. They were the first of 3 cats this year to come out as being trans, and all the younger warriors soon follow suit. They get lots of looks, and many of the younger cats are mesmerized by them, which they are not really upset by. This diva soaks in all the attention and gives them more to fawn about with a smirk on their face. They gave a especially purposeful smirk to Apricot Fuzz as they have a little crush on him. There is one warrior that is not impressed or charmed whatsoever by Daisy Dusk's constant showing off, and that is Swamp Ice. He thinks Daisy Dusk is just a stupid, lanky show-off, and he is just as talented, if not more, than they are. Besides, he has an apprentice, and Daisy Dusk does not. So who's really winning? Well, I don't know, Swamp Ice, because Daisy Dusk's script was almost 3 pages long and like 6 minutes of recording, and I already do not have anything else to say about you. Just try to do a little bit more next year, please. Swamp Ice's apprentice, however, is Greypaw, an insecure little kitten found abandoned by hillpounds during the summer, severely dehydrated and in dire need of attention. Out of the 3 newest apprentices, he is definitely the pushover. He was the last to come out as trans too, because it would take the attention of the other cats that she was graduating with. She came out as bigender and uses she/him pronouns, and she follows the other 2 apprentices she's trained with around, and is particularly attached to one of them, even crushing on her a little. Well, friendly but slightly intimidated by her littermate. I find it funny, however, that she is being trained by Swamp Ice, who is basically still a kid in the way that he acts. So it's literally a bratty teenager training a kid. What were you thinking, All-Star? Quick detour to the Elder's Den. Winstrub retired! It's time to celebrate! He didn't do much as head medicine cat this year, spending most of his time in the nursery with his kids until they were apprentice. J. Cole joined the same week, and as soon as he did, he announced that he just was done with healing and wanted to spend the rest of his day as an elder, even though a war had just been declared. Alistair agreed, as he was already very old, and he was forgetting the names of herbs. They didn't need an accident during the war because the wrong herb was applied. He's retired now, and as long as his kids are alright, he does not care for anything at all. He didn't have any interesting status while in the Elder's Den, other than being annoyed at Kits, which had to be Greypaw and the other 2 current apprentices, and giving Daisy Dusk coarse flowers, which they are wearing now, as you saw in their picture. He was in the medicine den a few times when Apricot Paw was there injured, but none of his or Lilac Bramble's statuses signaled that they were interacting in any meaningful way. So I don't think he and Lilac Bramble are on speaking terms anymore, which is good. Stay away from her. Plumspeckle, meanwhile, keeps him company and has had not a single interesting status this year. He feels happy about how the clan has progressed and feels like his mission is complete. What is his mission? I'll be telling you that in a future video. Gotta keep you all on your toes. I am also taking the opportunity to declare that Plumspeckle is officially out as Arrow Ace. He's never displayed any romantic interaction for anyone, not the tiniest speck, for more than 4 years in a row now. I decided that for Arrow Ace cats, I'm giving them 30 moons since they're born in a row for 2 or more years. I'll roll a wheel that gets a bigger chance of an Arrow Ace spectrum term every year if they continue to not have crashes. That was a mouthful to say. Let's finish up with the apprentices now. We have 2 siblings currently sleeping in the apprentice den along with Greypaw, who we already talked about, although one of them is no longer an apprentice. Meet Wasppaw and Peakpaw. They were found by Lilac Bramble and Windstripe at the very beginning of the year, when they were freshly born. Their mother was nowhere to be found and we never met her, but the game displayed it as a loner that was already dead named Whistle. As kids, Pig-Kit was abrasive and a little bully, and only really opened up to his sister. He kept getting statuses of being annoyed at cats pitying him for having only 3 legs, which is something that still greatly bothers him, because he didn't have a choice on that. He was born without it. Can you please stop pitying me? When Grey Kid, who was a moon younger than them, was brought to the clan, she became the object of Pig-Kit's constant bullying. Pig-Kit doesn't dislike Greypaw though. He in fact really likes her. He just doesn't know how to show it in a healthy manner. Greypaw also doesn't dislike her bully, but I hope she tells him off soon. Waspkit, meanwhile, had always been the quiet one of the litter, and always keeps her brother in check. She is also the most talented of the 2, or at least that's what Peakpaw constantly tells her, since she ended up being the only apprentice to graduate by the end of the year, receiving the name Wasprickle, named for her gentle and clever nature. Wasprickle simply laughs at the notion and keeps telling Peakpaw that he's just, if not more talented, but maybe if he was a less hot-headed and bratty apprentice to his mentor, he would have graduated as well. And she's not wrong. Peakpaw is already an incredibly clever and skilled cat, and honestly, he's more than ready to become a warrior, skill-wise. But Olistar and most cats in the clan thinks that he hasn't matured enough to receive his full name. A certain incident that happened on patrol was the ultimate pushback for Olistar to keep him as an apprentice for now, while letting his sister graduate. Finchhope and Recruit took Peakpaw out to give Marshall a break, because good lord, she just needed it, okay? While out patrolling the border, they were ambushed by rogues, same ones from last year. A group of them has actually settled in the old abandoned Stackland territory, and Berryclan has been having problems with them, especially as they share a border. Finchhope ordered Peakpaw to stay back, but he did not listen, launching at the rogues, claws out, and by the time the rogue group retreated, they were a cat short, and Peakpaw stomped over the body of an old rogue with blood dripping from his lips and claws. The look on his face worried the patrol, to say the least. Boy, please calm down. You're scaring your clanmates. Lastly, we're moving to the nursery. Longleaf is here taking care of his and Softheart, 4 currently 5 moon-old babies. Before having kids, Longleaf found comfort in how LOTUSCLAN didn't blame him for Goldstar's actions. He recovered from Yellow Cuff and made sure to pull his weight during the battles against his old clan, cementing himself as a LOTUSCLAN warrior. He and Softheart became mates quickly after his recovery, him being the one to ask Softheart out. And they found a surrogate and started a family a little too soon after getting together. But what do I know? They're adults. They sure don't regret it. They love their kids. He was there for his mate when his sister died, and he reassured him that he would do the heavy lifting with the kids while Softheart took the time for himself and his remaining siblings to grieve. Softheart and Longleaf had 4 kids, as I mentioned, and 2 were fathered by each of them. Cat litters can have multiple fathers, so they both get traits from each of their dads. The kids that are biologically Longleafs are the bossy model kid, who looks a lot like him, but also looks a lot like their surrogate, and the quiet dark kid, who apparently Peekpaw asked for help after taking on too many tasks. Boy, that's a whole infant! What are you doing? Go ask an adult. The only female of the litter is Primrose Kid, who is biologically Softheart, and this is the kid that looks the most like her departed aunt. She's shy and she just looks so much like their aunt cat. It hurts me a lot. Softheart is having a particularly hard time keeping himself collected around her. He loves her very much, don't get me wrong, but it's just too soon for him to not see her and cry over her sister. Like his sister. Last kid in the litter is Know-It-All Tangle Kid, also biologically Softheart, and he is definitely on the spectrum and has a special interest in birds, having had statuses about them almost every single moon since he was born. Softheart, even though he's not in the nursery all the time, is still not a neglectful father. He loves his kids. Longleaf and him take a lot of time to play with them, to raise them, to love them, but the kids do miss him, and they can sense that their dad is very sad. They are 5 months old now, and will be made apprentices in the first moon of next year, so I'm rooting hard for them, especially for Primrose Kid, who, as I mentioned, has yellow cough at the end of the year. That is worrying me greatly. She's a kid, she looks like her basically recently departed aunt. I don't want her to die, but if she does, it's going to break Softheart so bad, and I am very scared. But with that, we're done. The clan is absolutely huge right now, and I will spoil the bad news right now. It is time for a mass extinction. Next year, we will be doing some population control one way or another, and it will be completely random to keep things fair. I am absolutely horrified. But for now, we're moving to the positions of power for the 3 clans. Lotus Clan first. Olistar is still our leader and is down to 8 lives. Stormmallow is proving himself a very competent deputy, and Jackal, Lilac Bramble, and Honeypaw make up our 3 medicine cats. Tallwrapper is still our only mediator, but we'll see if Hillpounce joins her next year. Over in Blaze Clan, Goldstar is still the leader and they're mad. They declared war over losing 2 warriors to a newer clan. Lost said war, got challenged by their deputy, and had warriors run off due to their tyranny. They feel like their leadership is being questioned and they are very aggressive about it. Goldstar ended up demoting Emerald Creek and appointed a wise younger warrior as their new deputy, Sunshade. Yes, Sunshade, Daisy Dusk's newly discovered father, is now the new deputy of the clan that they abandoned. All of his kids now know about their parents, and the 2 of them that remain in Blaze Clan are very angry, but keep family matters outside of clan politics. Sunshade himself feels off. He is way too compliant and enables Goldstar without opposition, almost as if he's scared to. Almost as if Goldstar has something they hold over his head. Very mysterious. Rowan Wynn, however, is absolutely livid about everything that's going on. He was someone pressured to become a medicine cat, was told by his leader to lie and say he received his full name from Starkland when he hadn't, and felt insecure in his skills as a healer, and now all this family drama, he's just very stressed. He at the very least has a new healer helping him, a loner named Mimic, who joined soon after the war ended, adopting the name Mimic Frost. BlizzClan still has no mediators, and it seems that Goldstar is really not too fond of therapy. It makes his worries too soft, you know. Lastly, BerryClan, they had such a population boom. They went from starting out as the weakest and smallest clan at the end of the year 1 to being the largest by a long shot, even though LOTUSCLAN is very big. They need the numbers desperately right now too, since the rogues are targeting them next. Pikestar is still alive, but she is so old, guys. She's really old. She's been seen crying by her deputy and seems to be slowly withering away. She's seriously considering retiring after everything that has happened this year. But on happier news, she has a baby! A little Tom named Cream Kid who is currently in the nursery. The clan doesn't know who the other parent is, but the clear is very clearly Pikestar's. Hollow River also thinks it would be the best choice. More about her, she's got a girlfriend. Let's go, lesbians! They had a baby, Swankit, by the end of the year, with her mate carrying it, and she feels ready to take on the responsibility of leadership should Pikestar step down. Rust Beetle had a less pleasant new addition to the medicine den. A warrior joined offering healing expertise and changed his name willingly to a more clan-like name, Lupine Tuft. He concerns me. He's abrasive and just straight up rude. He failed to find hers during a very plentiful season and threw all the blame on Rust Beetle distracting him. And when a kitten told him that he should cover his mouth when he coughs because it is the polite thing to do, he coughed and spat on the kitten's face. What the hell is wrong with you, man? He was also seen touching noses with a rogue, a cat named Shortbread, and he is a former rogue, so he's on my watch list. Fairdapple is Vericle's first mediator, and she used to be a loner. When she became pregnant, another cat chased her off her home, and she took refuge in the clan to deliver her kids safely. She later chose to stay, but didn't like the idea of warrior life and how violent it seemed, so she became the clan's first mediator. She's a cheeky little thing, and I like her. But that's all for this year. Year 5 is hopefully coming out around June or July. I really want to get it done before Art Fight, or I feel like I'm gonna die. But yeah, I have decided to make LOTUSCLAN videos 5 weeks apart, or 6 weeks apart rather, so a month and a half. So every month and a half to 2 months, hopefully I should be posting a new LOTUSCLAN year. But for now, this is all I have to say for year 4, and I will update further through community posts. If you're interested, consider subscribing for more. See you next time!